Let's hit the high road. Let's hit the high road. It's the first touch, strong connection. It lays deep in your soul. Feel the kindness strongly coming. 'Cause you can achieve your goal. Let's hit the high road. Let's hit the high road.
Hi, this is Nancy Urel, and welcome to Nancy's Psychic View on the High Road to Humanity. And today I have a really special guest. Elissa Hope is here, and she's written this phenomenal book, Hope from Heaven. And it's a true story of divine intervention and the girl who came back, a God's messenger. And welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nancy. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to read a little bit about her before we get started for her to tell her story. But Elissa Hope is a world-renowned spiritual motivational healer. She's a speaker, she's a writer. And having stood before God in heaven and being sent back to her life as God's messenger and light worker to spread God's light and love and energy throughout the world. Having died during a routine procedure during the time CPR was being performed on Elissa, her soul left her body and traveled to heaven, where she came face to face with God. And I'm going to let you tell your story. You were 14 years old and you were heading to the dentist for a routine filling. And tell us what happened.
Yeah, so my mother, she was separated, so she didn't have the money she normally did to take me to my regular dentist to have a cavity filled.
Okay.
So a dental clinic opens up a couple minutes from our house. So she brought me there. And the dentist at the clinic, who knows if he even was a real dentist, because he gave me much too much nitrous oxide gas, which cut off my oxygen supply. I had no pulse. I was dead, and they were almost giving up on CPR because I was told when I did come back eventually, when they eventually did get a pulse, I was told that they almost gave up on it because they just could not bring me back. So during the time that they were performing CPR, my soul left my body and traveled to heaven, where I came. My three guardian angels were waiting for me in the light. And they gave me the choice of staying in heaven or returning to my life with an important purpose. And, you know, my guardian angels, they really wanted me to stay with them in heaven because
I know.
yeah, you read my book. They said I would be so much happier. And if I did return to my life in exchange for being allowed to come back here, that my life would be very challenging, but that I would be sent back with a very important purpose. So I kept saying, I have to go back. My mom really needs me. And they said, you know, your mom, of course, will be very hurt, but in time, you know, I don't think she ever would have really recovered in time, but that she would get over it more in time. So, and before I made my final decision, they said they had one last thing to show me, was that my funeral, I was seeing my own funeral, what it would be like had I chose to stay in heaven and not return to my life. And my mother, I mean, everybody was very upset, of course, but it was only my mother who was inconsolable, beyond grief-stricken. And she kept throwing herself on top of my casket. She was screaming, crying, Elissa, come back, baby. I love you. I need you. Don't leave me.
Oh my gosh.
So I got even more, you know, upset, and I was crying. And my guardian angels again said, you know, they said, you think very carefully, because you will only get this one chance to stay here with us in heaven, or you're going to be back on earth in your life for many years until your time is up again to come here. So and there was a big white door, and they said, once you pass through this door, there is no turning back. So we were at the door, and I just couldn't make up my mind. And all of a sudden I hear footsteps, and God walks right up to me. I'm face to face with God. And God said to me, "What's the matter, my child? Why are you crying? Why are you so upset?" And again, I said, "I have to go back. My mom really needs me." So God said, "I understand." And he turned to my 3 guardian angels and he said, "Send her back immediately." And he said to me, "But I'm sending you back with an important purpose." He said, "Once your soul is back in your body, you will not remember what your full purpose is until the time is right." So I'm not going to go into, the rest of everything that happened in heaven because, everybody will read my book. But once my soul went back through the long speeding tunnel, just before my soul was back in my body, I heard the dentist and the hygienist, they were still performing CPR on me. And the dentist was frantic. He was screaming, "We can't give up. We can't give up," because the hygienist said there's still no pulse. So the dentist said, "Keep trying. We can't give up. She's only 14." And he's crying. He's going, "Oh God." He's like, "We can't, we have to bring her back, because I was so young, and
Right.
so anyway, a couple seconds later, and I felt the thrust on my chest, the breaths in my mouth. Couple seconds later, I heard the hygienist say, "There's a pulse now." So the dentist said, "Thank God." So I laughed to myself and I said, "I just did thank God personally." So
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I know. So, and the dentist asked me if I forgive him, and I knew it was an accident. So I said yes. But, and it actually was, the most extraordinary thing that ever happened to me, coming face to face with God in heaven and being sent back as his, messenger and light worker. So, I really didn't mind that it even happened. So,
Well,
and yeah.
I have so many questions, like I'm sure the audience does. So I'm just going to ask you what I think the audience would want to know too. First
Right.
of all, I just want to ask, and thank you for coming on the show and telling your story. And thank you for writing this, because as angelic as I am, and as much as I'm connected to God, this was like one more reassurance that what we know, what we talk about every day here on this show, and I try to get across to the audience, that there is a God. There's a real man. And if you don't mind, I don't want to give your whole book away, but you said he looks like Jesus, but older.
Yes, exactly. Like the pictures that you have seen of Jesus, because I know there has been a couple different pictures of Jesus, but I recalled one where, I gasped because I was like, "Oh my gosh, God looks so much like that picture of Jesus, only God looked older. His face was more mature, maybe like 25 years older," which would make sense because Jesus is the Son of God. So,
I think that's amazing.
yeah,
Now, I want to ask you, so you're going through the tunnel, and everybody talks about this.
right.
And I guess my question is, there are people who stay, they don't move on, and they hang out, and I wonder how that's even possible. And the reason I say that is because, as you describe it, like a lot of people, you go through the tunnel and there's your guardian angels. So once you go through the door, and you said it's just a regularly looking normal door, right?
Yeah, it was a tall white door, kind of like a door you would see, on your house,
Yeah.
in your house. Yes. But
Yeah.
they said, "Pass through, there's no turning back." And they said, "You will be so amazed at who is behind this door and so much more, of glorious heaven." So
Yeah,
I
I'm
had to
just
make,
Yeah,
yeah,
you had to make the choice. Yeah. And you know what I'm saying? I'm saying there's a lot of people who don't go through the door and they hang out, Or I wonder if we go through the door and they let us come back for a little while. Because a lot of times I think, when someone passes, and you don't have all the answers, I know, but I think when someone passes, a lot of times, they hang out and they do see their funeral before they go. And I wonder if that's a something that they let us do. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yes, I mean, I think definitely that it is, because I was allowed to see my funeral, what it would have been like had I not
Right.
decided to stay in heaven. So, God, he can make anything happen, it's all God's will, and whatever God chooses to happen, and anything is possible with God.
Right.
You have to believe in God. I think some spirits that get stuck and they don't actually go into the light and into heaven, I think it's because they didn't maybe fully 100% believe in
Believe.
God. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I was very spiritual before my near death experience. So you could imagine how spiritual I am now.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about that, because you do say in the book, and I found this really fascinating, at 14 years old, you prayed every day.
Yes, every single day I would walk to school. My school was about 3 blocks away, 4 blocks away from my house. So
Right.
I pray every morning walking to school. And I just knew, and I did not grow up in a religious household, and I don't even recall really anybody speaking to me about God when I would pray every morning on the way to school, so I think it was just in me, just from birth. And when people say to me, why are you the chosen one? Why did God choose you to meet him face to face in heaven and be sent back as his messenger? So
Yeah.
I kid around, when I say God only knows, God.
Well, and you say he was dressed in a long white robe with a gold embroidering on it. He had a
Mhm.
rope belt and
Yeah.
with the braided gold and tasseled fringes. And it's kind of interesting because you'd almost think that that's what he would have on. You know what I mean? It's
Well,
interesting that you say that.
yes, he did. And he had gladiator sandals on, and he walked with a cane,
He did.
Oh, oh yes. It was so, and it was embellished in gold too, the cane, it was very ornate, but I mean, I can't even put into words, but I try the best that I can in my book, just what it was like just to be standing before God in heaven. I was only 14, but I knew that it was like so miraculous, extraordinary, to be standing in front of God, the creator of our universe. He created all of us. And when he called me my child, that was when I knew 100% that it was God, not Jesus, because we're all of God's children,
Right.
So,
I hope
yeah.
it's okay, but I want to read a little bit. It's just on page 63. There's a paragraph here I want to read to the audience. You guys got to get this book. I couldn't put it down. I read the whole thing. I was so tired this morning because I stayed up and I read it because I do more than one show a week, and
Yeah.
it just was fascinating. I mean, and you wrote it so well in your life story, but I want to read this. You say, I know that everything is centered in God's light and love. We are all part of that light. Our souls are made up of light, and our hearts are its home, where we store all the love that comes from that light. And without it, there'd be no love. And without any love, there'd be no life. That's why it saddens me when a tragedy occurs in someone's life and I hear them say they have lost their faith in God. You say you must never turn your back on God because God never turns his back on you.
Mm.
That was
So
beautiful.
thank you. Yeah, I have to tell you that with this book, it just all poured right out of me, just
Oh, yeah.
flowed out of me, So I truly feel like God really came through me, and really like helped me to write it
Yeah.
because
Well, and the cool thing is, and we'll get to this, and I don't want to give everything away, but you tell your story. You were a model.
I was a teenage model, like another lifetime ago.
It's great. I mean, I was so, and you met John Stamos and you met
Yeah,
your first love, Ron. I mean, she tells her whole story. And how
yeah.
cool, because you dated Steve Thompson, you met David Lee Roth, you met the bass player John Taylor for Duran Duran. I mean, you had quite the
I,
eventful life.
yeah, yes, but my greatest love, and really my only love, because when you say my first love, Ron, he was just well, like a puppy love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not, it wasn't really true love. My true love is Todd Irvin, who turned out, and Todd was a famous supermodel, and he turned out, at the time, we thought we were soulmates, but it turns out that we're twin flames. And he's the one who revealed that to me and my full purpose. But having been sent back to my life, Todd revealed it to me on the morning of his memorial service. So
Do you want to
it's,
talk about that, or do you want to say what he, because we all have a twin flame, and I guess maybe if you can explain this. I've had a girl on my show before, and her twin flame is on the other side. She's been on a couple times and she's written books, but so you're like the second person that really went into what the twin flame is, and you say the twin flame union is two people coming together by the hand of the divine.
yes. And it's also one soul that was split into two bodies and shared the same consciousness. You can have you can have 1,000 soulmates, but you only have one twin flame. So, but usually you only meet your twin flame in your last lifetime when your soul is very advanced and you're sent here as a light worker by God to raise the vibration of love and energy throughout the world. So, and it makes sense. And usually you and your twin flame, your lives parallel each other's, and Todd and mine, our lives so paralleled each other's. So
We'll talk
I
about this. How did he come to, like, how did you know this? How did you figure out that he was your twin flame, and how did you
right,
come to
well,
this?
right. That's the only thing that I never reveal on a podcast because it's so,
Okay.
fascinating. I want to say something to, I don't want to give the whole book away, but
Okay. Okay.
it is the missing piece to like the whole, story, like the whole reason why I was sent back here and how Todd revealed my full purpose to me, when the time was right, as God told me, and that he let me know that with twin flames, it's so breathtakingly beautiful. So
Okay.
yeah, I get extraordinary afterlife communication from Todd all the time.
Still.
Yeah, and this is why also that I wrote my book, just to really comfort everyone that true love never dies. It is endless. You just leave your body behind physically, but spiritually, you're actually more alive in heaven spiritually than even here on earth. So,
Now, when you were
this,
there, you saw a little bit of the gardens and the pretty flowers and that. Did you got a glimpse?
yes, it was so beautiful, all different color, beautiful flowers, and it's like eternal paradise because you're truly one with God. My mother, who I actually came back from heaven for, so we have a very special connection, a special bond too, like Todd and I do. So my mother passed away just a couple months ago,
Oh,
and
God bless.
yeah, she sends me amazing afterlife communication too.
Wow.
Yeah, I was hoping that she would live long enough to make it to my book signing. My book launch is on this Tuesday, August 15th. So she said, I'll try. But when I saw she wasn't going to make it, I actually brought an advance copy of my book and I placed it in her hands on her deathbed. and I took pictures and a video, and now I have the picture framed
Oh
in
my
my.
gosh.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, it's so comforting every time I walk by it. So now I have God, Todd, and my mom cheering me on from.
I love it. I love it. Well, how comforting. You guys, it's called Hope from Heaven. You have to read it. It is
Yeah.
amazing. Your story is just amazing. Now, there's a couple things I want to talk about. You talk about karma, and I just want to address this. And this really hit me, and I wrote it down because I think the audience needs to hear this. There
Mhm,
was a friend of yours that was in a terrible car accident, and
mhm.
he had a near-death experience. And the one that had been a gladiator in a former life. Do you want to talk about that a minute? Just so people understand.
Right. Well, they'll read it in my book, but I mean, karma is very strong. So if you do something wrong and really bad, in your next lifetime, you're going to experience, that bad karma. So
That's what
he's
happens. So if
yeah,
you kill somebody in this lifetime, or if you injure somebody, you're going to pay for it in the next lifetime.
exactly.
Right.
Even if you don't pay for it in this lifetime, then it will come back to you in your next life. Yeah.
Right. Right. Now, since this time, have you become more intuitive? I think you have been. You're more psychic, aren't you?
Yes. Well, as soon as I came back to my life,
Yeah.
at 14 years old, I started having dreams and visions. Yes. And I mean, I came back with the photographic memory.
Oh my gosh.
It's because I still have that higher consciousness to heaven.
Mhm.
And that's why my loved ones, I'm able to connect with them on the other side, and with me being here in the 3D and them in the 5D. And sometimes I even have friends, relatives who passed away, and they'll come to me in a visitation dream to relay a message to them. So a
Now
friend of
you've helped a
yeah,
lot of people. I didn't want to interrupt you, but
no,
you've
go
helped
ahead.
a lot of people before you wrote the book. You would
Yeah,
you would console people and tell them there is a God, and I think that's amazing.
yes, I would, because I'm a Pisces, so that's supposed to be the kindest, most compassionate, spiritual
Yeah.
soul, sign of the zodiac. So I was always very empathetic, but after my near death experience, forget it. I would feel other people and animals' pain as if it were my own. And I would even say, I would give my life to save all other precious human beings and animals from suffering, here on earth. And
Mhm.
I truly meant it. So and I don't know if, maybe it has to do with that. I am a Pisces, the most kindest, sensitive sign of the zodiac, but it's also definitely from my near death experience too. So that's why most people that I would meet, I would say to them, even when I would travel, I was a flight attendant. So I traveled all over the world, and I would say, are you spiritual? And then I would just go right into, I had a near death experience, and I met God in heaven, and don't be afraid to die. And, that there is a God in heaven. And it would really, when I would see the effect that it would have on people, and
Mhm.
they would thank me for telling them, and they would say, you have to write a book. So I would say, I am planning to when the time is right. So I'm
Mhm.
so happy that finally the time was right, because I said, I'll wait until my daughter graduates from high school, goes off to college. And it all just fell into place then, which was when Todd, revealed my full purpose to me on the morning of his memorial service. So it just all fell into place. And I have to tell you that my near death experience part of the book, I actually wrote that 10 years ago. And I just set it aside because
Okay.
I knew I would have more to write. So then when Todd revealed my full purpose to me, I was so devastated, though. I didn't even know he had died. He
Like, what
came
did he
to
die of? You didn't say in the book. Did he, was it just a heart attack or something, or?
and he had a massive heart attack.
Okay.
I did not even know he died when he came to me in a visitation dream, and he held me and told me he loves me, that he will always be with me spiritually. And then as soon as I woke up, I found out he died. So, you could
Wow.
imagine I collapsed, and then I was hysterical, crying, saying, I didn't even get to say goodbye to him. But
Oh.
then I realized, I said, but he just came to me and held me. So I knew it came to me from heaven. So I said, well, I know he's still here with me spiritually.
Right, right. Well,
So
you
yeah.
address so many things in your book. I won't go into all of them, but you talk about forgiveness.
Mhm.
It's so important. And you talk about, because you don't want to hold a grudge against anybody. You say life is too short. And I love that because I think that people need to hear that.
Right. And it's also very cleansing for your soul. When you forgive someone, it's actually to heal yourself, you
Right.
know? So
Hmm.
why you just don't want to hold on to any of that toxic, negative energy. I let everything negative just like roll right off of me. And I truly feel so much better. I always say I'm able to rise above it all.
Right.
Maybe because, I did stand before God in heaven. So I just feel like, anything I go through here, and I just feel like I'm able to rise above it all,
Well,
because
this book came out at the perfect time.
yes,
I just want to
definitely.
say that to you. I mean, this is the time that this is needed so much.
Yes, definitely. I have to say, when my beloved twin flame Todd passed away, it was right when COVID hit.
Oh, yeah.
He died January 15th, 2020, and COVID hit just a couple of weeks later. So you could imagine. And then the whole world shut down. So I felt like part of me felt like I'm in a twilight zone. Here I am. I'm
Hmm.
my Todd so much. And then COVID, the world shuts down. So I was like isolated, from so much, like from my family. So it was really, but at the same time, as hard as it was almost, I can't explain it, but I did like a lot of meditating, and
Hmm.
you have to read in my book how I actually healed was 2 weeks after Todd died. Something even more extraordinary than me standing before God in heaven happened that completely healed me. Because before that, I truly felt like I really felt my body shutting down. I felt like I was going to die of a broken heart.
Yeah.
I was just so grief stricken. I didn't feel like I could even go on without, my
Mhm.
Todd. So, but then 2 weeks later, something so like beyond extraordinary happened that what completely healed me. And I'll just save that for everyone to read in the book, but it's just fascinating.
Can I say
And if
something to you that I just want to say what I really got out of your book? I mean, it was amazing. You say so many cool things. You guys have to pick this up, but I just want to get this across because there have been people who've come on my show. I've interviewed a lot of people,
yeah,
and I've had more than one person say to me, "You don't really think there's an old man up there, do you?" Have
uh, I have to say,
you heard that?
I get upset hearing that because I'm like, because I mean, I could understand though, because they didn't go through, what
Right.
I did. But that is why God chose me to die and meet him face to face in heaven and be sent back as his messenger so that I can truly educate and inspire everyone and enlighten them that God truly does exist in heaven, having stood before him myself, I feel I just say, how can some people be so far off from the truth? But then I say, because you can't force the truth upon people,
No, you
they
can't. You can't.
but I always say you will find out for sure when your time is up here and you go back home to heaven. But there are so many people that I speak to that they are very spiritual and they do believe in God. And then after I tell them about my near death experience and having met God in heaven, then they 1,000,000% believe it. And it's also in my book, this woman who my daughter went to preschool with her daughter, this woman, she was an atheist and she did not believe in God and she was pregnant. So, I spoke to her about my near death experience and I said, who do you think created the baby that's growing inside of you?
Yeah.
And she really looked at me and she said, you know what? You gave me something to think about. So, this is why I'm dedicating the rest of my life towards just educating as many people as I can, all about God's light and love, spirituality, and purpose here on earth as well as in heaven. And that's why I did write this book, Hope from Heaven. And I do plan on writing a follow-up book
Oh, wow.
a little bit down the line, in a
Okay.
couple of years, because I really have so many more like incredible afterlife communication, to write about, and just so many more amazing
Share.
that's happened to me
Yeah.
since getting the book published. Yes. So,
Well, is it all right? I want to bring forth that God did take you. This is another thing that really shocked me.
mhm,
That God has a throne and
mhm,
that he watches over all of us
yeah.
praying that we'll make heaven a place on earth.
Yes. He watches over the whole world. And it was like a big, I don't want to give away again too much of the
I
book.
know,
So
but I just was like, what?
right? But I'm going to hold up a copy of it, Hope from Heaven. And it was just released on July 28th, 2023. So you can order it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, or you can even get it from your nearest retail bookstore. And it's also available as an ebook, but I think it's nice to actually get the paperback book because you can put in your library. And I've already had some people tell me that they read it twice already. The woman who wrote, the wonderful Dr. Harmony, who wrote the foreword to my book, she said to me, the second she picked it up, she could not put it down.
I couldn't either. I read it. I read the whole thing. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, and I couldn't. I woke up. I was so tired this morning, but it was so, even for me being, I work with the angels. You probably don't know
Right.
that. I'm really connected with God. And I just, I always tell the audience how important it is that you have a relationship with God. How you
Yeah.
relationship with the divine, and it just really reinforced in everything that I already knew, but
Right.
it even more. I mean, you just told more, and I just thought it was amazing. One thing I want to talk about before we get out of here is that John Hunt Publishing. Let's talk the publisher. I want to give a shout out for the publisher of this book, because they have sent me the most phenomenal guests. And you talk a little bit about the publishing company. Do you want to say anything about that, or?
Well, I actually did receive a sign because I couldn't decide. It's very hard to get traditionally published, especially being a
Mhm.
being a first time author,
Right.
and I didn't even go through my literary agent because I was so confident that it was such a fascinating true story. I said, let me try and see if I can get a traditional publisher on my own.
Mhm.
So I actually did receive two traditional publishing contracts. One was from a wonderful publisher in New York City, and the other one was John Hunt Publishing, O Books, which is their spiritual genre.
Yeah.
So, I thought they were just both equally as good. So I prayed to God. I said, I need a sign to let me know which publisher I should go with.
Yeah.
I went to sleep, and sure enough, I had a dream, and I was told to go with John Hunt Publishing. And they said, and in my dream, I was told that O Books is their spiritual genre, and that's perfect for my book, that I should
Yeah.
go with it.
Yeah.
So I was already convinced, but then I was woken up to, I got a FaceTime call, and it was early in the morning. I still remember, I believe it was 6:48 a.m. in the morning. And I was like, who's calling me so early, But I picked up my phone, and I saw that it was one of the authors from O Books, so from John Hunt Publishing, O Books. And I was like, why is he, calling me and so early in the morning? So,
Mhm. Yeah.
but I lost the connection because I don't get Wi-Fi. I live in a big house, and I don't get Wi-Fi in every single room.
Mm.
So I ran upstairs, and I went where I do get Wi-Fi, and and the author is in the was in the UK. So I didn't just call him back because I would have a huge phone bill. So I had texted him and emailed him, and I said, is this you? And now I'm where I have better Wi-Fi. Please, FaceTime me back now. So I'm sitting there waiting, it must have been 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden, I get a text message from him, and it just said, MMM, like, And I said to myself, this is very strange. I don't think it's him. And then I said, I bet this is a sign from, God, and maybe Todd too, that, that I'm definitely meant to sign with O Books. And so then again, I emailed his Combe, his name is Combe, and I said, please let me know if this is you or not.
Mhm.
So he actually did not email me back until 2 days later. And he said, no, I did not, that he did not FaceTime me. It was not him. So, of course, I 100% then signed, the contract with Book. But I thought that was so, fascinating.
Well,
And if
yeah.
and if that's not fascinating, I received a phone call from heaven from my beloved twin flame Todd
I
a year
know.
a year after he died, which is like unbelievable. I was speaking out loud to him, and I said, Todd, I need you to help me get this book. At the time, it was just a manuscript. So I said, Todd, I need you to help me get this manuscript into the right, I said, producer or director's hands for a movie to be made out of it.
Yeah.
As soon as I said that, I was in the kitchen cooking, but as soon as I said that, I heard my phone ring, and I didn't answer it until after I was done cooking. So then when I checked my caller ID, I mean, I nearly fainted because it was a phone call from heaven from Todd. And on my caller ID was Todd's phone number, Todd's cell phone number with the name of a famous Swedish Hollywood director, Mikael Hafstrom. So I knew Todd was telling me that, like, this is the right hands, to get it
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
But I haven't been able to get in touch with him. He's out of the country. He's filming
Okay.
movies in Sweden. So I'm like, Todd, couldn't you have sent me someone easier? You know?
Well, are they going to make a movie, Elissa? Because they should make a movie. This needs to be a movie.
I know. So, I have had a couple producers who said they are very interested and
Yes.
they would be happy to do it, be a part of it, the book to film adaptation. But they said first, you need to have a little bit of financing, preliminary financing in place for it.
I see.
Yeah. So,
It's a whole, yeah. Well,
we
I
could always crowdfund it, or if everyone loves the book and they want, a movie to be made out of it, they
yeah.
could try, we could crowdfund it, or if anyone knows how to get in touch with Mikhail Hafstrom, please do so. So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
Well, no, this definitely needs to be made into a movie. And this is the time because people are searching and people are lost.
Yeah.
And we need to know there is a God and there is a heaven. And I can say it over and over, but when you have a near-death experience like you've had and you're standing in front of the divine and you came back to tell us about it, and it's amazing. I just want to thank you for coming on and for writing this, because, and I want to thank John Hunt Publishing, because they send me the most phenomenal people, and I do believe they're divinely guided. I really do. I have to say that.
Oh,
I really do.
that's beautiful.
I
Yes,
do.
they've been wonderful to me.
Mhm.
I received the highest level traditional publishing contract from them because they have 4 levels, and they gave me the highest one, level 1. So, it really, I was so touched that they believe in me so much, and
Yeah,
they've been so wonderful to work with. And I can't say enough good things about them too. So
I agree. Elissa, what do you want to leave the audience with today? What is something that you feel that people should know?
well, I feel that everybody should definitely order a copy of my book, Hope from Heaven, because
You
they
should.
will, yeah, they will find all
Yeah.
the answers that they've been searching for throughout their life is
Yeah.
really in my book, having come face to face with God, being sent back as his messenger. I can really answer so many questions for people who are on such a spiritual journey. They're searching for God and a deeper meaning in their lives. And it's all, again, I'll hold up my book. It's all my book. And it's very, it's written very, I feel it's written in simple, to
Mhm.
easy to understand, where, I mean, a lot of people have said to me that they're going to carry it with them throughout the rest of their lives. So that warms my heart, because for me to know that one life has breathed easier because of you, that is purpose and my purpose. So I just hope that I'm making God proud of me, and I'm going to be just traveling the world to educate as many people as I can until my very last breath here on earth. And then I get to reunite back in heaven, emerge back as one soul with my twin flame, Todd, where we will be one with God for all of eternity, because this is it for me. I'm not coming back here again.
Mhm. There's a lot of us that want to go home.
Well, I have to say, I mean, heaven is the most beautiful, peaceful, spiritual place you can be. I mean, you can imagine you're one with God. There's no pain, no suffering, no violence. This is a hard place to be in. It's not easy here on earth. But at the same time, your life is a gift, but everybody is here until they serve a purpose for God. And that is when God calls you back home to heaven, to him. So for me, it's all about giving back. before my near-death experience, even though I was very compassionate and I was the biggest animal lover, I still felt like, I was a typical, teenager where you sometimes feel like, it's all about you, right?
Yeah.
What's in what's in it for me? But now it's just all giving back. I am so much more fulfilled when I make somebody else's day, So
Mhm.
it's all about just doing all that you can to do good things in the world, give back, do good deeds and serve your purpose for God. And then you will, you'll have good karma.
Yeah, and you get
All,
to go home to heaven.
yes, it's all about giving back and serving your purpose for God.
I love it. Elissa, thank you. Elissa
Thank
Hope, you guys. Hope from heaven. I'm just so thrilled to have you on the show today. I feel so blessed that you came on, that we got to speak with you. And gosh, I can't wait to see the movie. I think it's going to be amazing.
well, everybody has to help me with that,
We will. It'll get out there. God will do it.
That's right. And to be, it will be, right? But I will definitely be writing a follow-up book in the near future. So
I'll be back. Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'm thrilled, and it's a phenomenal book. You guys have to pick it up. Hope from Heaven, a true story of divine intervention and the girl who came back as God's messenger.
Thank you. And please leave a review on Amazon or Goodreads, and you can
Okay.
also, yes, and I love to hear from my readers, and
How do
you
we
can,
find you? Do you have a website? How do we get in touch with you?
yes, www.elissahope.com. And then be sure to see my YouTube video on the bottom of the home page on my author
I
website.
saw it. Yeah. Tell the audience.
Yes, of my beloved twin flame visiting me as my angel. So, that's pretty cool to see, right?
Yeah,
So,
you guys are gonna have to check it out. Go to her website. It's right there and you'll be able to see it. That was amazing. I looked at that last night too, and I thought it was really cool.
yes, you saw all the birds. Birds are messengers of spirit, so it's really incredible. Two of those birds from the video, they actually then stayed with me and they built a bird nest in my garage. And they had 4 bird babies on the 4th of July. And every spring they return to me, the mom and dad birds. So it's
Yeah,
really
you talk a lot about birds in the book, and I agree with that. When
and
John,
yes, and they're with me right now. And they just had their babies now. There's 5 beautiful babies. So I'm the biggest animal lover, but I was always more, dogs, cats, but now I'm the biggest bird lover too, because they really are messengers of spirit.
they are, they are. Oh my gosh. Well, you're gonna have to come back, definitely.
Oh,
When you do your next book and when the movie comes out, we want you back for sure. Elissa Hope, you guys.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, you guys, we got to get out of here for today. My website was doing some weird stuff, but it's okay now. We got it set up. So if you want a psychic reading, if you want an angel reading, you can go to my website. And you can also check out the new messages from Archangel Gabriel that I've channeled on there, and you can check that out. I am just so thrilled, you guys. You got to pick this up. Hope from Heaven. I hope everybody has a fabulous weekend, and God bless.